Political scientists, when they look at election outcomes, they tend to look at things that are more fundamental, not quite the same, the idiosyncratic events that are going on unique to each particular election, but more of the fundamental patterns that tend to stay the same and change things in a more predictable fashion from election to election. And so throughout the last 30 or 40 years, different researchers have been trying to answer this question: what explains the results of midterm elections? So the first theory that's been talked about by researchers is this presidential referendum theory, the one that most of my students came up with there. It's a reaction against the president. So that's one theory there, that presidents' parties lose seats in midterm elections because presidents come in with extremely high expectations and they set things up incredibly high, and then the reality of governing sets in. They're not able to accomplish everything that they promised that they were going to accomplish, and so people are disappointed about that, and so they punish the president by voting in more members of the opposing party. Interestingly, that sounds very much like what's been going on this time around, right? President Obama, with the Hope and Change, putting expectations so incredibly high and then coming in and only being able to deliver on a few of the things he promised in the campaign, as opposed to all of them there, and some people being upset about that, or people being upset that he's been able to deliver on any of them at all when they would have preferred that he not be able to do that. So that's one theory that can help explain this. It's a referendum on the president. Another theory is called the surge and decline theory. This is also called the exposure theory, that simply looks at congressional elections as, well, visualize a pendulum swinging from one end to another. This theory says that public attitudes they don't have a lot of patience for any one particular party. They're willing to vote in a party for a particular amount of years, but sooner or later they're not able to save the world and make everything better in the space of a few short elections, and so they'll let the other party have a chance for a little while. Another theory is that president's party loses seats in midterm elections because there's no presidential coattails to help members of his party out in that election. Presidential coattails theory is simply that when you have a president of one party on the ballot and members of Congress on the ballot as well, that if the president is popular, that when he's elected, people will also vote for members of his or her same party when they go to vote. And so a popular president getting elected will carry on his coattails, metaphorically speaking, a number of members of the same party into Congress. Then, when the president's no longer there in the midterms, those coattails evaporate, and so the party then loses seats. And then a final theory that we can talk about is that of economic voting, in that, like many presidential elections, that people are voting for their congressperson simply based on how the economy is doing. If the economy is doing well, they're more likely to re-elect an incumbent candidate or a member from the party that controls the presidency, or if the economy is not doing so well, then they'll vote in a new party and want to do something about that.